This also brings us also to the gene drives, and this conversation is actually ongoing at the Substar, whereby there is a lot of conversation around synthetic biology. And for me, I can say that these are false solutions which we should not support because of the aspect of biodiversity, because of the aspect of dependency. And just as Barbara mentioned, in Uganda, there is already the use of gene-drive mosquitoes. And what they are saying is that they want to control or to reduce or to end malaria. But I am not an expert on gene drives, so I think Barbara will bring us closer and closer to that subject. So Barbara, I think I will bring you into the conversation so that you're able to explain to us of gene drives. Welcome, Barbara.
I think that's one aspect of what I do. But yeah, I raise the collective voice of civil society actors, not in Kenya, but in Africa. But for now, I'll talk about gene drives. So what Tabi was talking about earlier is genetically modified crops is more of the first generation GMOs. So we are saying that researchers have now gone an extra mile to develop gene drives, which is, second generation. Gene drives are a very new and controversial technology. And I don't have access to share my slides, but I'll just go into what a gene drive is. So a gene drive is a new and controversial genetic modification technology that allows for permanent alteration of wild populations and ecosystems. A few years ago, one of the gene drive developers called Kevin Esvelt, who stated that 5 years ago, no one would have ever imagined that we would be able to alter the traits of wild populations. By doing so, they're changing associated ecosystems. No one would ever imagine that would be possible, but now scientists have come up with this new controversial technology. It's also designed to spread a genetic modification through an entire population or species. For example, one of the things that they're saying in Uganda is that they want to eliminate female Anopheles mosquitoes that are carrying malaria, and so that we remain with only the male mosquitoes. Yeah, so there's been a collection of mosquitoes. So the GMO mosquito, once it is put into the environment, it completely eliminates, it alters natural inheritance. For example, you're going to find that 100% of the offspring will carry the transgene of the gene modification. So that's really, I don't know if I'm explaining it properly, but that's how the mosquito changes. It will completely become a GMO mosquito. So in Kalangala, where my friend here and brother, Mr. Semakula, comes from, there are advanced plans already to release GM mosquitoes. They have been collecting mosquitoes over the last 5 years. And it's not only taking place in Sese Islands, we also are anticipating release of mosquitoes in another district called Mukono. And that's also one of the districts. So what are the concerns about gene drive technologies? Let me just go very fast so that other people can speak. The main concern about gene drive technology is that they are designed to spread and persist in the environment. And this has raised significant controversy because it has potential risks and irreversible impacts to the environment, and to the ecological system. Because once you release these mosquitoes into the environment, you cannot call them back. Yeah. And the intention is also that if it's released, you have no control of them. They can cross national borders and countries, and therefore there are transboundary effects of these mosquitoes. The second concern is this introduction of new genes into the wild can target non-target species that could have negative consequences on health and environmental health. And it was, I think, some years ago, Yale researchers found that mosquitoes that were captured after release carried DNA from a GMO mosquito population, and this disproved the claim that the release of the strain would not get into the general population because the offsprings die. So what I'm saying is that when the GMO mosquito is released, it's not, the scientists will tell you, oh, like they've been telling people in Kalangala that the mosquitoes can be confined to Kalangala. But Yale researchers noted that actually the mosquito population, they found that some of the mosquitoes that they carried had DNA from the GMO mosquito population that was released a few years before that. So this whole thing that you can confine them to a specific area is also not very possible. I'll go into community involvement. So the communities where these technologies are being tested are absent from these conversations. Their voices, their values are not represented. And it's important that we have public education as well as public engagement on the issues about the consequences of these technologies. And that's why it's very important that Semakula is here to hear about the concerns about. Okay, the last one I'll go into is environmental concerns. Like I said earlier, the gene drives have potential ecological impacts, and they have risks of eliminating populations that may have expected beneficial roles in the environment. And it's not clear how many species the mosquitoes may breed with, the potential to spread the gene drive into non-target mosquito species that do not carry malaria, but also have beneficial roles, such as providing food for aquatic organisms. In Kalangala, we have Lake Victoria surrounded around it. So one of the concerns we have is that if these gene drives are released into the environment, we do not know the expected effects onto our aquatic life, onto our environment, the trees and all these natural resources that are, I'll end here, but I'll just say that gene drives are not the solution to eradicating malaria, and that globally, there are other countries that have eradicated malaria without the use of gene drive. I'll stop here and talk more when there's another opportunity.
I'm sure the gene drive conversation is quite new to many people. We would invite now Semakula to tell us what is happening in Kalangala.
Thank you very much. I hope I can be heard very well. I'm going to read through this because of time, and but I can clarify when there is any need. I'm Bambalazar Semakula. I would like to acknowledge that we always work with my colleague Barbara and Bubeke in advocating against the introduction of mosquitoes in drive technology, which is the islands. In Uganda today, we have a project going on that is intended to bring mosquitoes with gene drive technology to eliminate native Anopheles mosquitoes. The project is in Sese Islands, Kalangala district as a local government, which is located in Lake Victoria and the archipelago of islands, which include, among others, Jaana and the Bubeke Islands, where the project by targeting malaria is taking place. they also operate on another island called Kansambwe and Bubeke Island in Mukono district. So they are not only in Kalangala as a district. The economic activities here are fishing, farming, and tourism, to which the presence of mosquitoes play a vital role in these activities. During different engagements we held with the people of the two islands, Jaana and Bubeke, we established the following. To the people living on these islands, the information given to each individual about the project differs from one person to another. Some people are told the intention of this project is to study mosquitoes and later develop medicine to treat malaria. They're not telling them that they are bringing mosquitoes with gene-drive technology. Others are told that this is a government project and therefore nobody should question it. If you ask them, the documents which is written in a local language, which we are able to get from the communities, given to them by Target Malaria team, has questionable phrases. For example, there is a question which they said on what happens when I get injured, and the answer is no one is expected to get injured. That is all. That's all that is given to this question. This phrase is trying to avoid one important aspect that we ask for in Uganda. We need a law governing this research in which we ask for a simple clause that makes the scientist and his funders liable when things go wrong. But the question is trying to avoid that. There is also other final questions and answers in this document, which we believe are not up to acceptable standards. Initially, Jaana and Kansambwe Islands were selected before it was taken to Bubeke because of their remoteness from other islands. Scientists believe that mosquitoes cannot fly over vast water bodies and therefore easily controlled on these islands. To those who start things from schools, this is a fact. To us, it is a lie, and we would ask science to consider our indigenous knowledge on this issue. The fact that mosquitoes are on every remote island is enough indication that they can reach anywhere without intentionally aided by humans. Other ways which aid free movement of mosquitoes are the boats where we align our nets before returning to trap fish. We sometimes leave these boats in one place for a week or two, and because the boats are damp, it creates conducive environment for mosquitoes to breed in or hide. Therefore, when we go back fishing, multitudes of mosquito breeding boats leave these places and at times making stopovers on other islands or to the mainland, meaning that mosquitoes are on the move. But also there are daily transport boats from these islands to other places. These give free transport to mosquitoes to places within the islands, outside the islands, and therefore across borders and beyond. Remember, Lake Victoria is shared by 3 countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And every day, boats from these countries are crossing. Okay. We therefore believe that this project is not only poorly placed, but not necessary. Malaria can be a big problem for the moment, but there are avenues that have not been explored in fighting against it. Today, science is focusing much on female Anopheles mosquitoes' ability to transmit malaria, but skipping a simple gap that could cut short this cycle. It is, if it is given necessary attention. It is universal fact that Anopheles mosquitoes are born free of malaria, and they only acquire the parasite from we humans. In fact, it's humans who infect mosquitoes with the plasmodium, which they inject back into humans later. If we don't infect mosquitoes with malaria parasite, there will be no malaria. The challenge of malaria is therefore not about mosquitoes, it's about humans. The important role mosquitoes play in our lives are well documented, and we believe there are benefits of mosquitoes yet to be discovered. Why doesn't science put its focus on denying mosquitoes access to persons with malaria? The other avenues, there are use of mosquito nets. If we can use mosquito nets effectively, we can deny mosquitoes from access to people with malaria. Develop quick identification of persons with malaria. Let science avail self-testing strips with like the case today with the HIV, COVID, and pregnancy. Use of indigenous knowledge on plants that repel mosquitoes around our homes. We need to plant these around our homes. The plants can also be developed into mosquito repellent substances that can be used on our bodies to repel our mosquitoes. But there are also numerous plants that are known to prevent or treat malaria. Therefore, where there is no person carrying malaria parasites, we will be able to live in harmony with mosquitoes for millions of years, enjoying their benefits without any harm. Some people are neglecting this appeal because they think that this is an issue localized only in Sese Islands. But the word outside Sese Island and Uganda in general, we say, like we indicated above, mosquitoes with gene drive technology, if the word allows it to be tested on the people of these islands, will quickly spill over to the mainland Uganda and over borders. The quicker the world realizes this and comes in to intervene, the better. This is not our concern alone. It must be treated as a global concern. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Semakula, for sharing that from a person living in that area point of view. And I might think the aspects of public participation and information, giving the public adequate information on what is actually going on is an area of concern, because I think I mentioned the same also about Kenya. And you mentioned that there is a potential for spread of risk even in the mainland and beyond mosquitoes. And I'm wondering if Barbara has more insights on this. You can share.
And we are saying that even when they develop them in the lab, we still cannot assess their risks involved, because for this gene drive to be actually tested, it has to be released into the environment. So that's the risk assessment we are talking about. So part of the discussion that we're having at the CBD right now, they are coming up with a risk assessment methodology. And the methodology we have been critiquing at the CBD is really about, the methodology that are coming up is the same as the one of a standard genetically modified crop. And we are saying the crop, the first generation technology cannot be the same as gene drive, which is totally different. Because with a crop, you can actually assess the risks within the lab. But for the gene drive, you cannot assess the risks until you have released it. Because for it to see if it works or not, it has to be released to see how many mosquitoes will be eliminated, to see how, I mean, not eliminated, but to see how many, how, like what the diagram that Naomi showed you of how the mosquitoes the gene transfers now to the local mosquito, so that in that area, that they say that there will be a reduction of malaria. So the issue is, what are the things that we are trying to advocate for is that the risks of gene drive are not the same as the risks of the standard GMO technology.
I think Semakula will speak more on the local knowledge, but I think for us, what we're saying is that we, the push of techno fixes for African countries or developing countries, and as Barbara has mentioned, is not the solution. Our health sectors are highly underfunded. When you go to local areas, I think we all grapple with the challenges of access to medicine, access to basic healthcare, even in the rural areas. Sanitation is a huge problem. So we are not really addressing the systemic issues, but we're saying we want techno fixes to address diseases like malaria. So what happens to these other issues? And Semakula was saying, transmission of malaria is from one person to another. Okay, I don't know. There's a concept that he uses, but it's true because we are not dealing with with our issues. We are now accepting, when you look at the funding that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation gives to this research, is a lot of money. I'll give an example. In Tanzania, there's the Ifakara Health Institute that is conducting these trials, have these experiments. They receive like projects, $3 million plus US for that project. Can you imagine how much that money would make at the local level just to build a health center, to pay the doctors? I think recently you had a doctor striking. So for us, there's no point of undertaking research in risky technologies, which we don't know how they're going to behave or how they're going to impact our communities, and leaving the systems unchanged. So the healthcare, we're dealing with issues on health insurance. I think those are the issues that we want to see change in. We don't want risky technologies that we don't know they're not going to work, and they're using a lot of all these resources that are needed elsewhere. So that is our position as civil society. Maybe Semakula will speak on local knowledge and other issues.
Okay, the question was about the changing habits of mosquitoes. Actually, I would say that mosquitoes have never been active only at night. For us, with that knowledge, that indigenous knowledge, we know. But however, if they are changing, but the transmission is not changing, remains the same. And here, I gave different avenues on how to tackle this. I talked about the mechanical part of it, when you can sleep in mosquito nets at night. I asked for development of quick identification methods, like the case is for HIV, COVID, and indigenous. But also, of that indigenous knowledge, I talked about the plants that can be planted around our homes, around places where we work, that can repel mosquitoes. In fact, God created these plants. They smell good for you, but they repel the mosquitoes. But also, I said that we can also use technology to develop mosquito repellents out of these plants, so that we can smear. When you go to places where there could be mosquitoes, when you have smeared your body with these repellents, the mosquitoes will not come to you. And lastly, I talked about the numerous plants which are available, already known by indigenous people there, that cure or prevent malaria. If you asked me to tell you how many plants, the names of plants, I will give you hundreds of them. And this being tropical places, these plants grow in all tropical places. And at times, asking them, a person if snakes should be killed or if a lion should be killed. Definitely, a common person will look at a lion as a threat to his life. But until you tell them the benefits of lions and snakes and all those things that we hear, that's when we understand that no, we're better off living with these creatures. And so I think that's where some of the problems are emanating from. We need a lot of sensitization so that people understand that mosquitoes are of benefits to them than they are danger of malaria.
Semakula, maybe you were in a side event on gene drives, but then I remember, which is another concern, that they have stopped using the word gene drives, and now they're sugarcoating it to say that it's an innovation and we are just trying to change the characteristic to this and this. And if you do not probe further in your mind, you may not know that what they're talking about is actually gene drives, and you're not able to explore the potential threats that this may pose. And I remember you also mentioned that mosquitoes, since now we're talking about, that is the example that we have that is very close to us, that mosquitoes have more benefits. Are you able to share at least 2 benefits so that at least we know that, like the way we say bees and how they're able to?
Okay. This information is always available online if you search for it. Mosquitoes are mosquito rubber. In my place, we call it namatimbo. This is food for fish. And when you go, when you walk across the lake, whenever you find swamps, you find multitudes of mosquitoes there. And then those are breeding places for mosquitoes. And around those places are the breeding places for fish. Why? Because the little fish that's food for tilapia, it's namatimbo or mosquito larva. So mosquito larva is a food for fish. But when these people come, they tell you that Lake Victoria is kind of turbulent and it's always rolling and mosquitoes cannot breed in the areas where water is moving. That's not true. There are places where water is not moving that much. And these are the breeding areas for fish and the mosquitoes. But also, Anopheles female mosquito bites you. But an Anopheles male mosquito doesn't take blood. It feeds on nectar from flowers. And therefore, mosquitoes help in pollinating plants. And these plants are very important to us. And actually, but also we find that we have to, I talked about the tourists. Some tourists come in to look at the plants that we have. Some of them come to look at the birds, and some of the birds migrate far away from Europe to come and stay here. But some of the food are the plants which are pollinated by mosquitoes. So mosquitoes play a vital role in our lives. That they are dangerous to our lives. Little and small fish is the food for the medium fish, and the medium fish is food for the big fish, and all these are also food for other living organisms around the lakes. So when you break the food chain of the small fish, you are breaking the food chain for the medium fish, and the food chain for the big fish, and the food chain for other animals that live in the lake.
I think that is well answered. There's in some island, I don't remember the name, it was, and they were trying to eradicate mice. They are saying that it is like some invasive species of mice. But then these mice, they have a role to play in the in the ecosystem. And I think once we eradicate them, then as he said, it's a whole, it's an ecosystem and so many things rely on each other.